eating breakfast, taking a shower, walking to the grocery store. These are everyday, mundane tasks that the romanticize your life notion tries to turn into enjoyable moments. Instead of rushing through breakfast by grabbing a pack of croissants from Walmart, you should take the time to walk to your favorite bakery and pick something that's fresh out of the oven.
And this morning, instead of going to the bakery that I usually go to, because their croissants are just okay, I did some research and found a really highly rated French bakery in my city. And I decided to go try their croissants today, and wow, they're so good.
Rather than hopping in and out of the shower for the sole purpose of washing your hair, make it an experience by lighting candles, listening to music, and picking products with fragrances that make you smile. Romanticizing your life sounds like a great idea, to appreciate the little things in life and to be the main character, so it's often alternatively called. But I do have a bone to pick with it. Is romanticizing your life turning you into a happier person or a happier character? And who actually has the privilege of romanticizing their life? There are definitely good sides to romanticizing your life, and it makes sense why it's become so popular. But there are several cons that I'm not sure whether the pros can override, at least for me. Romanticize your life is naturally countering the rational, productivity-driven society that people are becoming less and less satisfied with.
I'm the kind of person who's always on the go, always in a rush, always trying to get as much done in my day as I can. And for a long time, life felt very robotic.
My mother brought up a good point. She said, "Sydney, you seem kind of sad in that video." And I was like, no, I wasn't sad. I was just like really in the zone. I was just kind of like getting through the day, you know? And that's how I've been a lot of days.
And it most certainly is important to appreciate the little things in life. I think it's great to encourage us to take a step back and be aware of all that we have. But I also feel as though romanticizing your life runs into several issues, including classism, eurocentrism, pretty privilege, romanticizing mental illness and abuse, exclusivity, and turning yourself into a character rather than a real human. I know it seems as though I just threw out a bunch of fancy buzzwords to sound sophisticated and woke, but I promise I will explain all of those later in this video. First, I want to start by introducing some pros that I think romanticizing your life does have, so that you understand what my criticisms are responding to. To romanticize is to idealize or believe that something is better than it actually is, whether that's better as in more exciting, interesting, morally good, or meaningful. The notion of romanticizing your life, then, is to treat yourself as though you are the main character, hence why those two concepts are paired together. Your life is more than just a tiny speck in the universe. I think it's very natural that this idea of romanticizing your life has been generally well received. People seem to be starting to reject the idea of a rationalized society that we have so long lived with. In George Ritzer's famous essay, The McDonaldization of Society, he defines rationalization as emphasizing 5 components: efficiency, calculability, predictability, substitution of non-human for human technology, and control over uncertainty. A rational society values being as productive as possible, with productivity referring to activities that either contribute to the economy or are regarded as good for you. For instance, reading is considered productive and watching Netflix is not. This rejection of a rational society seems to have inspired, or at least partially inspired, the I no longer dream of labor or I don't dream of labor movement. People seem to be getting sick of simply going through the motions and feeling as though every day is the same repetitive routine. Remember, rationalization is predictable. It is controlling uncertainty. People are sick of making productivity the center of their lives, especially when quarantine has made our days feel repetitive and also has made our work equal to the place we call home. It can be tiring to feel as though your self-worth comes from how willing you are to sacrifice those unproductive little things, like taking a hot bath or doing a cute hairstyle, in order to work longer. It's no wonder that when Romanticize Your Life came around, it was a hit. It encourages you to absolutely make time for those quote-unquote unproductive little things. And it supposedly offers a solution to feeling unhappy with a boring or less than satisfactory life. It's all about perspective, its advocates say. When you're upset about it raining outside, you just have to shift your mindset to appreciate how beautiful the rain looks and sounds. If you work a minimum wage service job, you can still change your attitude to admire your surroundings and the customers, like this pizza delivery driver did. This concept that you can't objectively change what actually happens, but you do have control over your perspective, borrows heavily from Stoicism. Stoicism is a school of thought that says if you cannot control it, there's no reason to get emotional about it. A common example is if someone cuts you off in traffic, a Stoic should tell themselves that traffic and other people's actions are completely out of one's control, and so anger and frustration are useless responses. The difference between Stoicism and romanticizing your life, though, is that Stoicism focuses on controlling all emotions and strives for tranquility of the mind, so to speak. Whereas Romanticize Your Life is all about turning negative emotions into positive ones. Romanticize Your Life advocates further support using material goods as part of improving your life's happiness, such as putting on makeup to feel confident. But Stoicism denies any external thing from being able to bring true happiness. I think that romanticizing your life has also been very appealing because social media has gotten a lot more formal. I can't find the right word to describe it, but people are always looking their best and showing off their lavish lives, to the point where it makes people who aren't ultra rich or ultra attractive to feel as though their life is lacking something. And the thing is, for the middle class and up, we have more than enough. But social media makes us feel like we don't. It's great then that Romanticize Your Life tries to increase our awareness of what we do have and how amazing those things are. The coffee that you made at home can be enjoyed just as much as the $8 latte that fitness influencer bought from some LA coffee hipster shop. The notion that you are the main character of your life also boosts your confidence, which I think is important when social media and companies are always trying to make you feel less worthy. But now let's get into the problems I have with romanticizing your life. When we think about a romanticized version of our life, what's a common image that pops up in our heads? I'll tell you what people usually don't think of. They don't picture themselves drinking mung bean porridge or Three Sisters soup. They picture drinking coffee or tea or some other beverage that you could find at Starbucks. They don't typically think of starting their morning with Tai Chi, but they do think of yoga or Pilates. They don't imagine themselves curling by the fire while reading Confucius or Bartolomé de Las Casas. They imagine holding Mark Twain in their hands, or Hemingway, or Edgar Allan Poe. And I understand that if you don't know what Tai Chi or Three Sisters soup is, it's impossible for you to incorporate it into your imagination. But even for me, someone who drinks mung bean porridge on a daily basis, who's seen their grandparents do Tai Chi, and who has read and listened about Confucius and Bartolomé de Las Casas, when I envisioned romanticizing my life, my mind automatically thought of French pastries and scented candles, even though I never preferred eating French pastries for breakfast, and I've never felt the urge to purchase scented candles before. The words romantic, romanticism, and romance are so heavily interconnected with the idea of European life and European culture. It makes sense because the actual movement, romanticism, started from Europe, and we often associate romance in the context of love with European things. For instance, many European languages being languages of love, or picturing European cities to resemble fairy tales, etc. So even though romanticizing your life is about changing the already existing aspects of your life, I argue how we decide to change them is heavily influenced by Eurocentric standards. Consequently, it secretly builds this idea that Eurocentric life and culture is better, because that's what brings you the romantic life of happiness, ultimately promoting a hierarchy of cultures with European culture sitting on top. Where do we get these Eurocentric ideas of a romantic life from? Movies, TV shows, music videos, and any other type of film. I'm going to focus a bit more on the I'm the main character side of romanticizing your life for a second, and I'm going to quote a podcast episode that I really enjoyed where the host said, "Life feels most romantic when life is a performance, when you're mimicking what the romantic scene is in the film that you saw." They give an example that I think we can all relate to, where it's raining outside and you're on the car and you put your head against the car window while you stare outside as the raindrops fall down. Why do we do that? Because that's what we see main characters do in film and in TV shows all the time. And so we copy because it looks sentimental, it looks emotional.
But who's looking?
Why do people take selfies of themselves when they're sobbing their eyes out, trying to make sure that their eyes are the right amount of red in the picture and their eye makeup is the right amount of messy? Because the main characters on TV and in music videos still look endearing and pretty when they cry. And so now there is a desirable way to be sad. Why do we take videos of ourselves when we are feeling depressed or suicidal and then caption them with funny, edgy jokes? Because we think, oh, it would be funny if someone read this. We create an imaginary audience who watches us as we live our lives, and we start to judge whether our life is properly romanticized or not by whether this imaginary audience would enjoy the show that we put on. But that's not reality. The main character in a TV show who cries on the couch while eating ice cream after a breakup has had a huge makeup and hair crew to make her deliberately look the way that she does. It is a meticulously crafted image of what a main character's low points in their life should be like, but it's not real. No wonder I ran into tons of comments under Romanticize Your Life and How to Be the Main Character videos, where people would say that everything is up to your mindset. The most popular video about romanticizing your life on YouTube said that you are in control of what you do with every single moment. We have the power to create it. We get to appreciate every little thing for how it is. So even if you live in a poor small town, even if you're stuck with an abusive family, even if you struggle with depression, this insinuates that it's on you to change your perspective. Your sadness is your personal responsibility. I mean, when the lowest of the lows for the main character is crying while eating ice cream on the couch but still looking pretty, and the love of their life returns to them in the end anyways, real life issues are bound to seem exaggerated, or make us feel as though it's our own fault for being in the wrong perspective. People have criticized Stoicism for being toxic because it can lead to people suppressing their emotions or becoming apathetic to everything and everyone around them, including the birth of their own children. But I don't think romanticizing your life is any better. Some things like mental illness, heartbreak, suicide, and abuse, all of these things suck, and you need to acknowledge that they suck. You can't just pretend like they don't, or else you stop seeking help and you stop believing in your self-worth. This is why we think romanticizing mental illness and suicide is awful. And if those are things that you struggle with, you can't fully commit to romanticizing your life without also inevitably romanticizing those aspects of your life that shouldn't be romanticized. I'm going to go through some scenarios to show why I don't think this just change your mindset type of idea really works. Let's say you have pretty serious social anxiety, and a Romanticize Your Life supporter tells you happiness is a choice. So you think to yourself, okay, how can I alter my perspective to be positive about this? Well, my social anxiety prevents me from spending time with others and socializing, which means I am forced to spend more time on school and work. wow, my mental illness gives me the ability to get better grades. Or let's say that your dad physically abuses you at home, and again, you hear someone tell you, happiness is just a choice. So you start to think, okay, maybe this abuse is just my dad's way of showing that he cares about me. Or at least he still pays for my food and education. Or it could be worse, I don't even have it that bad. These examples feel wrong, don't they? People shouldn't be forced to put a positive spin on some of their biggest struggles that have huge negative impacts on their life. And they shouldn't also have to justify others' awful actions. An additional issue that I have with romanticizing your life is that it promotes a very self-centered life. There's a reason why it says your life and not life in general. Romanticize your life makes an important assumption that living a happy life is doing things for you, making you happy and being the center of your life. Other people and other things just become instrumental to your needs and your wishes. For example, in this video, she talks about how she tries to make giving her dog a bath fun. So now giving her dog a bath is no longer because she truly cares about her dog and is willing to do it even if it's hard and unenjoyable. No, it's about having to make it fun for me. Hi, it's Editing Olivia. I realized I should have made it clear that I don't think there's anything wrong with making the task of giving your dog a bath more enjoyable. In fact, I think it's a great idea. But the basic premise of having to make things fun and enjoyable for you in order for it to be a worthwhile task is what I wanted to focus on. And while this premise doesn't matter in this situation, for other important issues, it does. Whether I should volunteer as a service worker to help build schools for poor communities, or go to the city at night to take photos with my friends, now becomes a much easier choice to make because the latter is easily romanticized and the former is not. What we do is now dictated by what brings us the most pleasure and not by what is most morally good. While there's nothing wrong with caring about yourself and doing things for pleasure, if that is the lens with which you approach your entire life with, I worry that one will become less and less tolerant of people or events that don't work in their favor. It also means that if I'm allocating my extra time towards making my life as romantic as possible, I'm going to watch the sunset in the evening and eat out with friends rather than choosing to volunteer at a food bank. Volunteering at a food bank isn't romantic. It's hard work and it can be heartbreaking. That's not what a romanticized life wants you to feel. You're the main character after all, right? So others should revolve around your story. This leads into the exclusivity of a romanticized life. Honestly, ask yourself this. Do you want your government officials to be romanticizing their life? If there's the threat of a terrorist attack or another COVID-19 wave coming our way, do you want them to try to look at it from a positive perspective so that they can feel happy? No, you want them to be as pessimistic as possible to prepare for the worst for the greater good of everyone. Do you want Amazon packagers to be taking walks to appreciate the weather or taking longer coffee breaks to savor the aroma of their drink? No. Unfortunately, for those Amazon factory workers, people demand shipments as fast as possible, and so we actually wish for a rationalized, efficient, and productive group of people there, not romantics. See, we only allow certain subsections of society to pursue a romantic life, those who the greater good obviously do not depend on. Because guess what? Contrary to what Romanticize Your Life promotes, society is a tangled web of social connections that you cannot live without others. Romanticizing your life necessarily impacts the quality of others' lives. One last thought I have about this is how much pretty privilege fuels the ideas we have about being the main character. So many of the how to romanticize your life / how to become the main character videos that I've watched recommend putting on makeup, dressing up, or just basically looking nice every day. day, even if you're staying at home doing nothing, because they say that when you have an attractive appearance, it will put you in a good mood and it'll make you feel happier.
1, makeup. Get ready, do your makeup, add some color, feel good, look good, hand in hand.
I don't think this makes us more confident and self-loving though. If anything, I think it reinforces the feeling that we can only be the main character when we look as good as those main characters on screen, which is so unrealistic. You know, you're going to have bad days where you feel sick, tired, or downtrodden, and you don't have the energy to put on nice makeup or to dress up. During those days, are you still going to be able to feel like the main character then? If the answer is no, then the positive energy that you've built around your life is superficial. At the end of my critiques, there is a counter-argument that I'd like to entertain because I think that it could be true. If someone is worried about losing productivity and efficiency, perhaps romanticizing your life is actually a good way to get that. People are most productive when they are happy with their life and happy with who they are. So maybe romanticizing our lives will boost one's ability to work more. If someone is worried about a romanticized life leading to a self-centered character, well, someone could say that loving others relies on learning to love yourself first. Perhaps the romantic life is the way to get to that self-love, and that is the first step to loving and caring for others. To romanticize your life has its good sides for sure. I think to partially implement it into your life is beneficial, and it can be the first step to obtaining other things like I mentioned earlier. But I'm less convinced that making it the focal point of how you live is equally desirable. You can like and subscribe if you liked what I had to say, and you can check out some of my other videos as well. If you have any video idea recommendations or suggestions, you can let me know. Thank you so much for watching. Let's keep talking, and I hope to hear from you soon. Bye!